1. Okay. Now we got this going. Just make sure it's live on Twitch right now. Oh, do you have the link on Twitch?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Now it looks like things are starting right now over here. So, with all that said, I think we shall now begin. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And in this episode in particular, this is actually something that has been long awaited. Well, not necessarily, but I mean like something that I should have done a while back. And yes, I actually have a special guest star with me. So please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, PIEGUYRULZ right over here. Pie, what's up, my man?
Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here. How you doing? This is the first time I've ever talking to you, so
Yes, actually the
live.
same here. So it's gonna be a great introduction. Might as well like this is like the ultimate icebreaker right over here. So just in case if there are people who don't necessarily know who you are, do you mind introducing yourself to some of the newcomers?
Okay, hey. So I've been talking about cartoons on YouTube for over 10 years. I'm just gonna stop counting the years, just keep saying over 10. Um, and yeah, I mean, used to do some rant videos on cartoons. Now I do a lot of reviews. I'm probably most well known for my every episode of SpongeBob reviewed series where well, you probably get the idea from the title. But yeah, no, I just do a bunch of cartoon reviews.
All
That's me.
right. Well, basically, like, we do have something in common right over here. I'm more into, like, animated films. You go directly into SpongeBob. My God. I think I quit in the middle of season 4, to be honest, and then, like, I kind of moved on from there.
You're an early one. A lot of people stuck with season 4 and then quit in like season 5 or early season 6, but that's around the time where a lot of people dropped out.
Yeah, or that could actually be the case, maybe. Like, I lost a little bit more interest in season 4, and maybe I quit season 5 without knowing. Like, I wasn't 100% sure of where specifically I kind of decided to split my own ways with SpongeBob, but
Did you see the Splinter?
the Splinter?
Yes.
Which one is that?
Okay, you know what I'm talking. So you didn't get to season 6.
No, I didn't get to. No, I know for a fact I didn't get to season 6. So it's either
Okay,
4 and 5 that I was pretty much done.
fair enough.
All right, and one more thing before we do get things started, I just want to go ahead and start off by paying my little respects because unfortunately there was a passing this week of Burt Reynolds, who has appeared in many great TV shows and movies, but for animation fans, we all know him as the voice of Charlie B. Barkin in All Dogs Go to Heaven. Now, recently, I have done a review of that film, and I guess now that ending scene is definitely going to be more heartbreaking, as Joey Tedesco said it best on his Twitter. So yeah, this is just in honor of that guy. Do you have any fond memories of All Dogs Go to Heaven or just Burt Reynolds?
Um, I must have seen All Dogs Go to Heaven at some point, but what I know him from, which is kind of a silly thing to know him from, but Archer. He guest starred on Archer. Archer is a big fan of Burt Reynolds, and that was kind of like a big crossover episode. So that's really all I know him from. But from the little I've seen, he did a great job. And of course, it's always sad whenever anyone passes. So
Yeah, definitely true. No, I'm sure you're not alone. I'm sure there are a lot of people nowadays who would remember him more recently appearing in Archer. But with all that said and done, I would like to ask Pie Guy, Chatwall, are you guys ready for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast?
of course, man, let's do it.
All right, so you're ready. That's good. I'm ready. That's good. Well, that's probably important because I'm running this godforsaken show, and I see that a lot of people are pretty much ready right now. Good, perfect. Now let's go ahead and get things started with our first story right over here. And honestly, this is something that I've kind of repeated a lot. Like, it is kind of a similar story that is pretty common here in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, but this really is history in the making. And first and foremost, I would like to ask to you, Pi, what are your thoughts on Incredibles 2? Have you seen it recently?
Oh, I did see it. I didn't see it recently. I mean, I saw it when it came out initially. There was actually a scrap discussion I did where I talked about Incredibles 2, but I was not a fan. I mean, like, there's a lot of things I could go into, but basically, the first Incredibles is, as most people know, just an incredibly tightly written movie. There's not a wasted line of dialogue in there. Very creative for the time. One of the best superhero films, like before the superhero genre really took off again. And Incredibles 2, I'll just say it doesn't live up to that legacy. That's all I'll say.
Ooh, that is quite interesting. That is quite interesting, but you cannot deny that this is something that, either way, how people want to think about it, is something that they really wanted to check out. And case
Right.
in point, you look at the box office, where once again, even if it's been almost 3 months since it came out, it's still breaking records. Where last weekend, during the Labor Day weekend, it became the first ever animated feature not just to surpass $500 million at the domestic box office, but also to surpass $600 million in the domestic box office alone, which really is kind of crazy when you think about it, considering that when you look at some of the highest grossing animated features of all time, without counting Incredibles 2, there have only been 30 animated films in history that have ever surpassed 600 million worldwide in general. But it's not just that either. That wasn't the only record that it actually broke off. In the worldwide box office total, it also surpassed a grand total of $1.16 billion. And even as we are recording this right now, it has an accumulative total of $1,167,000,000 at the box office, which means it officially beat Minions to become the second highest grossing animated feature of all time. So it's honestly quite crazy that even right now, when it is like losing a little bit of steam, that it is still going extremely strong at the box office. Now,
Right.
even though you're not necessarily a fan of Incredibles 2, like, what do you think of how things are going right over here?
I mean, here's the thing. I could be the biggest fan of Incredibles 2 in the world, and I still don't entirely like this list that you're showing me because of, I mean, the second one up to the top is Finding Dory, which it's just like,
Yeah.
it worries me because Pixar's been on this train of sequels and kind of sort of rehashes, and like Incredibles 2, I mean, I don't like hate the film with a passion or anything like that. It's still Pixar, so there's still aspects of it that are just above and beyond. But I am a little worried that these trends and these statistics are going to show that marketability of a franchise is going to be more important than actually like making a good movie. You know what I mean? Like they could make Incredibles 3 and they could put no effort into it at all. And I mean it may or may not crack Incredibles 2 here, but it would still do incredibly well. And that's a little worrying from a statistical point of view.
Yeah, you do bring up a very good point, but then again, like you do have to consider that right now we are going through a massive transitional phase because with all the sequels and stuff like that, I'm sure that is something that's more of John Lasseter's doing because like ever since he stepped in to become like the creative head of Pixar and Disney, there have been tons more sequels of like Cars, Toy Story, Finding Dory and all that kind of stuff. And now since Pete Docter is going to be in charge, I did hear a little bit that after Toy Story 4, they're going to put a little bit of a pause or at least a halt in making sequels in general, and they will go back to just focusing on more original content. So, I do get what you're trying to what you're trying to say and what you're trying to think. That statistically, it does seem like they're going to be gearing a lot more towards creating sequels, and considering that right now Incredibles 2 is officially the most successful Pixar film ever. But I don't know. It's just like right now they're going through a giant phase change. So it's not 100% sure to know how that's actually going to go in terms of
Right.
what they're going to do in the future.
And I'm not saying this strictly as like I'm worried about Pixar. I'm just worried about in general, lesser studios that look at trends and only trends and are like, well, these sequels to these hit franchises are doing well, so let's bring back Shrek.
Oh God.
Which I don't know if that's still happening or not, but
I don't think so. Like because the thing is, beforehand they promised it would be out in 2019, and if that really were the case, we would be seeing like teaser trailers or like a teaser poster at this point. I mean, there are still people who still believe that there would be a Shrek 5 coming out, which honestly is a bit worrisome.
Dude, Shrek 5 would be the first movie to be promoted and like marketed exclusively on memes alone. There would be no
Oh my
trailer.
god.
It would just be memes. Just all memes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
It's either that or they'll go rated R and just show like a 90-minute feature length version of Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life.
Oh boy. But no, I mean, look, Incredibles 2, there's a lot worse movies that like could be or sorry. Yeah, there's a lot worse movies that could be at the top of this list that would upset me more. I'm totally fine with it. If anything, I mean, I'm glad that interest in animation theatrically is going up in some way at least. It's not going up in all ways, unfortunately, but yeah.
No, yeah, it's true, but then again, we could say that there is a bit of a unique element with Incredibles 2. It's not just the factor that it is an animated film, but there's also the fact that this is the most demanded and most requested sequel for Pixar to go and actually do. And on top of that, like, we are still in an age where the biggest movie genre in cinema history right now is superheroes. So with Incredibles 2 coming out, it really does blend well. So there is a bit of a concoction to really explain the massive success that Incredibles 2 is prominently showing right now.
That's a very good point. And I mean, really, Pixar, they can't do it anymore, really. Like, I mean, sure, they could do Incredibles 3, but like most of their like classic stuff, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, like it's all been sequelized at this point. And like the sequel from 2 to 3 is never going to be as highly requested unless you're talking to like Toy Story, where between 2 and 3 there's a huge gap. But like basically Pixar's literally can't keep this up. Like I do believe that they will go back to more original movies, or at least just a blend. I'd be happy with a blend instead of like 4 sequels in a row and Coco.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like, especially like when you look at this decade, it is kind of crazy where they were in a massive sequel high. Like, I counted, there have only been 4 original animated features that Pixar did: Brave, Good Dinosaur, Inside Out, and Coco, and that's pretty much it, honestly. And like half of them were not as well received as some of the other Pixar films. Like, some people could say that it's either like it's pretty good, or they would say it's full on bad. But I mean, like, it's interesting where we do see a lot of mixed reactions.
But yeah, and like you said, Incredibles, like a part of it is definitely the wait, like the hype and the wait. And like I don't know about you, but when I saw it, there was an apology at the beginning of this movie from the voice actors, like, "Hey, we're sorry this movie took so long."
Yes, no, yeah, I saw that too.
Apologize, like before it comes out. Like, what? Well, at first I got the disclaimer, like there may be flashing lights, and then I got I think the short, and then I got the apology, and then finally got the movie, because it's like they wanted to make me wait even longer.
Yeah, I actually got it like during the 2 times that I actually went to see it. I actually did receive both, and I think that's just more a new thing that Pixar is doing in general. Not necessarily to just flat out apologize to the people, but I think like they just want to make like a like kind of this opening introduction to say, hey, thank you for watching, and now here's the movie. I think they did that with Coco as well before starting that film to say.
I didn't see Coco in theaters. Sorry to interrupt. I didn't see Coco in theaters, but I did hear there was a wonderful 22-minute Frozen short in front of that movie.
Oh yeah, that was a thing that totally existed. It's like once you get past that, then the Pixar people. No, that should actually be something where they should apologize and then start the movie right there.
Like, hey, listen, all right, you wanted an original Pixar film. We'll give you an original Pixar film. But first, you gotta watch this sequel to not even a Pixar movie, but a Disney movie for like a really obscenely long amount of time. I heard that people were upset over that. That's old news, though. We can push forward here.
Yeah, we can move on. Like even Disney actually did the smart move, not even including it on the Blu-ray. Like, just have Olaf's Frozen Adventure be its own thing and just go on the side from there. Like, they should have stuck to their original plan and just literally just keep it as a Thanksgiving special that they could put on ABC. Well, I mean, like, think about it. It's 22 minutes. It's the perfect length for like a half-hour television special.
I know. So I didn't see Coco in theaters. But yeah, all I saw on the Reddit thread was people that were like, I took my like 6-year-old son to see this movie and he wanted to leave about 10 minutes into the actual movie because he'd been there for like a half hour. Like all said and done between Coco and the short and the trailers and the previews and stuff, it's like literally like a 3-hour experience for like young kids to be taking them to. And it's like, I mean, I know Frozen was in demand, but like, yeah, just air it on ABC and don't put it in front of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, I'm not against putting a Frozen short, like in front of Coco, but not a 22-minute short.
No.
But
Mm-mm.
actually, that does bring up a very interesting question. Just going back to Incredibles 2, with the pace that it currently is going on, honestly, like, I've kept saying that it would never happen, but I feel like with the way that it is slowly climbing up, and the fact that it actually did defeat Minions at the box office, I do feel like there could actually be a small chance right now that maybe Incredibles 2 could actually surpass Frozen at the box office to be the highest grossing animated feature ever. Do you think that it would actually happen?
It's possible. So I'm not a movie person by trade. Just so you know, and just so everyone knows, I'm not a movie analyst or even someone who pays that much attention. But it's possible. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, for me, I feel, well, like I said before, like beforehand, I would keep telling myself and I would keep saying here, it's never going to happen. Like, there's no way. But I feel like it is slowly but surely climbing up. Like, it is at the end of its theater cycle where pretty soon it's going to be taken out. But it would depend in the foreign box office how it's going to do internationally if people are going to keep adding in. Because, like, even though right now, the Incredibles 2 still has about a little more than $120 million to go and get in order to beat off Frozen, because Frozen right now has 1.29 billion in its box office roster. So if Incredibles can manage to go and surpass that, then it would still have a lot to work on, and it would depend if people from the rest of the world, if they're really willing to go and watch The Incredibles again and again. So honestly, I would feel like it's a wait and see attitude. Most likely not, but there is still that small possibility that The Incredibles might achieve what many could consider impossible.
Well, I mean, you did have a great point earlier, just that The Incredibles 2 does cast a wider net, in that not only is it technically a Disney movie, it's a Pixar movie, it's a sequel, like a long-awaited sequel, it's a superhero movie, it's a summer blockbuster. Like it casts such a wide net that, I mean, if anything, we're gonna beat Frozen, it would be Incredibles 2. This scares me for how good Frozen 2 will do.
Oh yeah. Well, I for
That
me,
scares me. That's the
yeah,
wrong
for
word.
me,
But just like
it would really depend with with Frozen 2. I feel like that one, it could possibly defeat the first Frozen, but only if it is critically praised. If it's something that like it would only gather, even if it's just like 70% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that, well then no way. Like it will be a major hit for sure, but it would be questionable if it would even get up to the ranks of the first Frozen. That's the only one. But yeah, honestly, with it, like even with Incredibles 2, it's something that we are never going to see for a long time. Like there would have to be this one major franchise that would be able to go and surpass that. And I think honestly, we're at the point where only Disney would be capable of topping themselves with the amount of movies that they can create with their animated films.
very true.
So yeah, with that said though, I would like to go into the chat wall right now, and I want to ask you guys, what do you think about this big new record that Incredibles 2 has achieved, not only surpassing 600 million domestically, but also beating off not the millions, to beat off the Minions to become the second highest grossing animated feature of all time. I would like to know your thoughts on that, and to know what would be the future of Incredibles 2, or how things are going. Let's see. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people seem to be happy. So far, it doesn't look like people would believe it would beat off Frozen. I want it to beat out Frozen. Frozen is overbaked and needs to be beaten. Some people really wanted Incredibles 2 to like be knocked, some people want Incredibles 2 to knock out Frozen, I see, or just something in general. Let's see. It's impressive. Can't wait to see where it goes from there. It did manage to beat Jurassic World 2 as the third highest grossing movie of the year. Did it? No, I don't think it did. I'm just going to go into the front. No, it's still... No, Jurassic World 2 is still a long way to go. Like, Jurassic World 2 has like 1.3 billion, so, yeah, no, it ain't there yet. It ain't full... It's never going to go there yet. Jeez. Okay. But I think with all that said, yeah, I think we're all good for this little part right over here. And let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And we're going to still stick within the theme of Incredibles 2. But don't worry, this is not going to be a full-on Incredibles 2 filled episode. But just wondering, Pi, do you collect DVDs and Blu-rays?
You know, I wouldn't say collect. I have a decent size, like, amount of Blu-rays, mostly like season box sets of shows. But I do like to collect the Studio Ghibli Blu-rays as those come out. And yeah, I mean, hey, if a Blu-ray has a nice like set of features on it, that's a weird way to describe that, but you know, and it has a nice packaging and stuff. I like to collect the Marvel movies too. But I've been moving more towards digital. How about you?
I am full on a collector. Like, I'm not necessarily someone who cares much about digital because, like, technically, like, if it's on digital, then it's no different than just downloading it for free in my mind. So honestly, I don't necessarily care all that much. It like when you have it physically, like, it feels much more rewarding, and it's kind of like a trophy in a way. But apparently there is going to be one Blu-ray that will have one hell of a set of features, and that is, of course, with Incredibles 2. So Disney actually did reveal the details of what is going to be inside, not just the Blu-ray, but also the 4K version of Incredibles 2, which will be coming out on DVD, on digital, on Blu-ray, on 4K, and also a limited edition steel box that you can only get on eBay. But the biggest thing that they did reveal is that there's going to be a buttload of features. Now, if you guys remember in the first Incredibles DVD and Blu-ray, they packed that thing to the brim, and it is impressive. And it looks like they're going to go and follow that same footsteps as well. So, to read from my source here in Blu-ray.com, it states that the bonus features will be including 10 deleted scenes with introductions, something called Super Stuff, in which they are going to be looking into the making of the environment, the vehicles, the costumes, and all that stuff, like the things that surround the characters. There's also going to be Heroes and Villains, in which they will show how they craft the characters with the animators, the voice actors, and all that stuff. There's also a little section where they will present production designer Ralph Eggleston, I think that's how you pronounce the name, where we see his contribution to Incredibles 2. And then there's something very interesting for many animation fans out there, and I'm going to read this to you, which is called Strong Coffee, A Lesson in Animation with Brad Bird. Brad Bird's passion for animation dates back to his childhood and mentorship under Disney's Milk Call, and that enthusiasm and powerful insight emanates from every film he's made. Take a deep dive into Brad Bird's early years at Disney Animation Studios and his time at Pixar. Then after that, we also got Paths to Pixar Everyday Heroes, where they will be discussing with animators at Pixar and how they would balance being an animator and being a parent. Afterwards, we have something called Super Baby, which is going to be something made a little more for kids, where they got some Disney Channel stars presenting how they create Jack into the movie with all the special effects and stuff like that.
Hang on, read it as it's written here. A documentary / hip hop music video hybrid hosted by Frankie and Paige from Disney Channel's Bizaardvark. The piece explores how Jack came to life on screen. I don't know, a documentary / hip hop music video hybrid hosted by Bizaardvark stars. That's a sentence and a half right there.
Yeah. That's the one, honestly, I have the most doubt on, because I would love to have a bonus feature where we learn about how they craft Jack and how they put all the superpowers on screen. Like, that is actually cool, but the idea of making it a part hip-hop music video with Disney Channel stars is just like, I don't know, man.
It's like you have all of these like documentaries and behind the scenes. It's like, this is how animation is done, and then it's like, here's some hip hop music video. You gotta put something on there for
what
the
up,
kids.
boy? Hear how they make Jack Jack, yo?
Oh boy.
Oh god. But also, but wait, there is more. We also got the commentary section where it's not going to be with Brad Bird, but we actually have a lot of animators that are going to be discussing there in the commentary, including Alan Barilaro, Tony Fusal, Dave Mullins, and Brett Parker. And then afterwards, of course, we cannot have a Pixar film without the animated short, and this is actually a very interesting one. We actually got Bao, and also the making of Bao, which, by the way, I am actually a little curious. What did you think of the animated short Bao?
Oh, Bao was great.
Oh,
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. So basically you liked it a lot more than you did Incredibles 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's an unfair comparison, but yes. Yeah, no, just the punch at the end, and I don't know, it had a great sense of like, where are you going with this story? Like, that whole time you watch it, you're like, oh, okay, oh, all right, well, now how? And then at the end, it's like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. That's really cute.
So you're not necessarily too freaked out when the mother literally ate her son.
Oh, that was so funny. That was like, that's a great twist.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just like, it was just one moment where like the whole audience was like, what the hell just happened?
That's what I want to feel during movies. I want to feel like whoa, what? Like, what are you doing? Like,
I want to see more movies where mothers would vor their sons. All right, but anyways, more stuff also are included, including outtakes and stories, character theme songs, vintage toy commercials and TV spots, toolkits and montage, and Global Incredibles 2 trailers. However, the crown jewel of this Blu-ray and 4K is actually going to be an animated short, which I have seen so many people demand that Pixar would actually go and do this, and they are actually going to deliver on that, is the animated short called Auntie Edna. Where it says here, when Bob Parr visits supersuit designer Edna Mode looking for help with his high-energy toddler Jack Jack, Edna pulls an all-nighter designing a suit to harness the baby's seemingly limitless powers. So that's pretty much the whole set that we have here when you would buy Incredibles 2 on Blu-ray. And holy crap, that is honestly amazing, the amount of stuff that they are going to deliver. Like, even though you're not necessarily that big of a fan of Incredibles 2, you gotta admit, the list of bonus features that they have here is really quite impressive.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I very much respect the fact that the people behind Incredibles 2 very much love what they were doing. Like, Incredibles 2, I mean, it might be a sequel, but it's not a sequel in the sense that, like, some guy with a cigar was like, yeah, make another one of those. It's a sequel in the sense that people were really passionate about what they made the first time and wanted to do it again. And it shows. Like, special features like these, it's because the people, while making the movie, wanted to document it. That they cared so much. You can't just pull these special features out of the hat like afterwards. You have to do it while you're making the movie and plan. And that's great. That short idea sounds fantastic. Like, that's great. And if it was something the fans demanded, like, that's great that they're giving it to them. Yeah, no, I've seen enough bare bones DVDs in my day to know that this is fantastic. And I love the original Incredibles. The best bonus feature on that DVD is the commentary with Frozone and Mr. Incredible.
Yes, on that anime. Yes. Yeah, that little cartoon there. Oh yes. My god.
Oh, it was so funny. I don't know if they improv that or what, but it felt so real. Like, these characters were talking about this really cheap looking cartoon made about them. Oh, it was so good.
Oh man, I love that as well. And it's actually quite interesting because, like, I remember way back, like, when DVDs were hot and fresh and new, like, I remember, I would say that, my favorite and probably the best DVD that's ever been crafted would probably be The Incredibles, because they filled it up to the brim, not just in terms of the making of it, but really exploring down to the lore of The Incredibles. And with this one right here, while it doesn't seem to be like that completely packed with it, like it doesn't go too much into like we're not looking into the lore of like, oh, here's a biography of like all the superheroes that has been featured, but they really are honoring a lot of the people that are behind the scenes with it. And this is what I love about bonus features on Blu-rays, is the fact that we really do learn a lot, not just about the movie itself, but really about the making of the movie. And this is really going to be something where you would find a newfound appreciation for the feature film, because it really does highlight all the people who did work hard within within Incredibles 2.
Oh yeah. Wait, hang on. Sorry, I just noticed this. The raccoon got on the cover of the DVD.
Yeah, no, the raccoon is honestly very prominent. Like he's even there in the posters.
Incredible 2 starring raccoon. Oh, that's great. I mean, that's interesting. Sorry to derail for a second. I just
No. It's all right.
They put almost every character. They didn't get Odenkirk's character on there.
Yeah,
but...
they don't have Bob Odenkirk. They don't have his sister. Like they don't have like literally everyone, but like everybody, like a lot of the main ones are pretty prominent in here at least.
Yep.
Or at least like we do see like some of the like new, like they gotta have like some of the new superheroes in the back that would meet up with Helen. But
they're pretty far in the back there. The raccoon gets front billing though. He's ready to watch it anywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the raccoon is a fan favorite, dude. You should see the amount of like of toys that actually do feature the raccoon. Like there are tons of them. It's crazy.
Of course.
Like,
well, see, here's the thing. Okay, the raccoon scene is one of my favorite scenes in Incredibles 2. The raccoon scene is also a completely pointless scene in Incredibles 2.
A little bit. Like technically the whole point is for Bob to somehow discover that Jack has superpowers and stuff. Like they could have done it in a way that is much easier and much quick, but I guess it's just a fun way for the animators to play along with Jack's powers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole thing, but yeah, no, like that's the thing. I think as a scene, like as a vignette, it works really well, and that's why I'm excited. I probably won't be getting this, but if I know someone that gets this, I'd be very excited to see the Auntie Edna mini movie. But yeah, that's just kind of like one of my things about the movie, is that a lot of the Jack stuff, although cute and sweet on its own, doesn't actually affect a lot of things, and it feels like it's like, well, time out on the movie, we got to have a Jack scene.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. Like, a lot of it can be just for the purpose of the Q factor to make it more marketable in that sense. Like, I know there are a lot of movies that try to, like, focus more on the Q than actually having having a story in there. I get what you mean in there. Mm-hmm. And I will say, like, one little criticism I do have, though, is that, with the Auntie Edna short, like, even though it is something that's highly demanded, I do feel like I wouldn't be surprised if this is just something where they're mostly going to copy a lot of the original short from the DVD of the first film, Jack Attack, where it's mostly going to be something that will highlight Jack having crazy superpowers, and then you got that one babysitter that has to take care of Jack during that time, which in this case we're going to have Edna Mode, who's going to be taking care of Jack, and also, like, shenanigans ensue, especially when she's going to be pulling off an all-nighter to design the costume for Jack.
That is interesting, actually. That, like, I bet you a lot of the Jack element of this movie did come from how popular that short was, which was a short on the original DVD. Like, that's kind of funny. I mean, I don't know. It's like, well, part of the DVD bonus features heavily affected Incredibles 2, and now Incredibles 2 is like, let's put a bunch of DVD bonus features. So you've heard it here. The Incredibles 3 is just going to be Jack in Edna Mode. Just the two of them.
the star of Incredibles 3 is going to be Jack. No, but you know, it's actually very interesting, though, because I remember the first time I went to see it, it was actually the IMAX special when they had the first Incredibles, and then they would show Incredibles 2. There was a long intermission in between, and during that time, there were actually a few people that would take out their phones, and they would actually go and watch the Jack Attack short just to get more of their fill of Incredibles.
Right. Well, because a lot of the I mean, like if you don't, it's easy to forget, like if you've seen the short, but in the actual Incredibles, like Jack's powers are only seen in that one very brief scene with Syndrome.
Yeah, like
Like
right at the
that's pretty
end.
much it. The Helen gets a call from the babysitter, and like it's an element in the movie. I'm not saying it was made up just for the short, but it's like it's only prevalent in Jack attacks, and then it's super prevalent in this movie. That's super. Um,
No pun intended.
yeah.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah, like it was just like it was a little bit of a twist because they were building up the fact that oh Jack is the only one that's like quote unquote normal, that he doesn't have powers, and then suddenly we see Jack going after Syndrome with like several powers at once, like going all like one after another, and then like we got this movie where now it's the family who actually does discover that Jack would have powers, and in a way I guess you could argue that Jack's role is not necessarily that big. It's just to present a lot of his superpowers, and then there's like, well, okay, spoiler alert, by the way. Like, if you don't want to hear this, just mute it. Where like, like his biggest contribution would be right at the end to really snap out of Helen's hypnosis, like when like all the adults got hypnotized.
Right, but I mean, like, I don't know. Again, I don't want to get into it too much, but just that, like, Jack and the villain have nothing to do with each other. Like, they're. You would think that if Jack was going to gain so much focus in the film, he would be related. Like, the villain would want to kidnap him or want to harness his powers or have some sort of relationship. Like, not that I'm like a huge proponent of let's bring Syndrome back, but at least there could have been an interesting dynamic there. Whereas this villain hardly even meets Jack. And there's a point in the movie, I'll never understand this. The villain's name is Screenslaver. The whole thing is they kidnap people with screens. They put a tablet device in front of Jack for like a chunk of the movie, and that has nothing to do with Screenslaver. Screenslaver doesn't take it over. There's no, like, I don't know. It just, the Jack stuff feels like it's from a different movie, I feel. But like in isolation, it's really cool. I don't hate Jack. Like, I just feel like they should have interwoven it into the actual core story a little bit better.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point. Like, that thing didn't have much of a purpose. It's like, oh, we gotta find Jack. Oh, no, wait, oops, he broke it.
Yeah, Edna makes this machine for them, and they're like, yeah, we can control his powers. And then literally 2 scenes later, oh, it's broken. Well, thanks, Edna. Thanks for not contributing to the movie. Again, Edna's a cool character. She makes no significant contribution to this movie. You could cut her scene out.
Well, I think it's just to make the costume. Like, that's pretty much it. And I mean, like, this is a sequel to The Incredibles, and I mean, like, there would be a massive uproar if Edna was not in the movie.
Oh, of course, but you could actually, like, give her something to do. I don't know. I don't want to get into it any more than that. But
no, I get it. And I mean, like, with Edna, like, the scenes that she was in, it's mostly repeating the same thing as in the first Incredibles to present, like, you know, the big scene to fully present the new costume that she made for Jack, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
But
also,
yeah, go on.
I guess back on topic, one thing is, definitely, if you're like a 4K type person, definitely check to make sure the movie is actually in 4K. I believe it would be, but I don't know if you know this, Matt, but a lot of 4K discs aren't actually in 4K. They're like up-resed a little bit, but they're not in native 4K. 'Cause some movies aren't made in 4K, and yet they'll still sell you a 4K disc, and they'll try to pass it off like, hey, you're getting the highest quality. You got to pay an extra $10, but you're getting the highest quality. And it's like, dude, you know, you buy a 4K TV, which, dude, 4K TVs are great. But then you buy a 4K player for a few $100s, and then you drop like $30 on a 4K disc, and you find out that you're not even watching it in 4K. And it's like, there's websites out there that actually say whether a movie is in true 4K or if it's just like slightly up-resed, but still on a 4K disc. And so that's always something to check if you're someone that's really interested in that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not someone who's 4K myself. Like, I still keep it on Blu-ray, but that is an interesting point. But you actually did bring up something that, like, it just reminded me. And that is something that I looked down into the comments of this. And, you know, honestly, there is a really good question regarding what they could do. Are they going to release the theatrical version of this film? Or are they going to do the edited strobe light, the edited no strobe light version of this?
Oh god, I would love for that to be a toggle. That would be great. A toggle would be preferable. I don't know. I mean, you gotta think that like there was a decent deal made about this, enough so that some theaters put a warning ahead of time. And you also have to think like, well, more younger kids and more people have access to like DVDs and stuff. Like it'll be playing in dentists' offices. It's going to be more spread than if it's something that's just strictly in a movie theater that a parent has to take a child to or whatever. So I don't know. That's a tricky one. I would, if I were them, I'd tone it down and then just have like a bonus feature, like here's the original scene if you want to have a seizure. I mean, not that I'm not even epileptic, but like it, I was not a fan of those effects. What do you think?
Yeah, no, like, oh my god, like, I remember the first time I saw them, like, like, I'm not epileptic either, but even I had to cover my eyes a little bit because, like, it was a bit much, but, I could definitely see Pixar probably do, like, a toggle thing, like you said, like, you can have the choice of either having the original version or, like, the seizure-free version. But I wouldn't necessarily be surprised either if they're just going to put in a seizure-free version just so they can eliminate all sorts of controversy or just remove any kind of mistake so that
Right.
people don't accidentally get seizures from this. But it is something interesting to consider to know what are they going to do with the Blu-ray version, considering that we have seen a few versions passed around in theaters and a little bit of edits to make sure that Disney wouldn't necessarily get in trouble with it. So what they're going to do with the Blu-ray, that I think is going to be the biggest wait and see with how they will present Incredibles 2.
I mean, they should really market it on the front. Like, hey, you can now you can watch the coolest scene in the movie.
Yeah. Now
although
you.
although it probably, I mean, the effect is probably dulled in the home because like in a movie theater, it's always going to be pitch black in the audience and or not pitch black, but dark in the audience and bright on the screen, which makes the effect so much worse than you're watching it in your living room and maybe you've got like one or two lights on. But even still, yeah, I agree. I think Disney will do something because they don't want like their most popular movie to have any sort of like controversy or anything around it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's great of, it was great of Disney and Pixar to actually take immediate action when it was actually pointed out, but I don't know. It's going to be a big mystery, but but apparently it says here that the Blu-ray release of this is going to be coming out of November 6th, and honestly, I'm really excited, and I am actually kind of contemplating either if I want to buy this immediately or if I would actually have a lot of patience that I could just ask it for Christmas to make it a little more special.
That's I think I want to say the original Incredibles came out on November 4th. I want to say that because that's my birthday, but I'm pretty sure the original Incredibles came out somewhere in November early. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're right. I think the first Incredibles came out sometime on in November, and then this one, of course, is a summer release. So, considering that the Blu-ray is coming out in November, like I do think like yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people that would probably want to buy this, but also this is going to be like a major holiday gift that I am certain of.
November 5th. Sorry, my mistake. But it's funny because they're launching the DVD or the Blu-ray like the day after.
All right. No, yeah, definitely. But with all that said and done, though, I want to know into the chat wall, what do you guys think of the Blu-ray of The Incredibles and all the bonus features that they're going to be offering? Are you guys excited to go and get The Incredibles? Are you actually going to go buy the Blu-ray, or do you want to just go and buy it digitally? Or are you really interested to see all the bonus features that are going to be offering? I would like to know your thoughts on what they are presenting here. Let's see. Yeah, we got some people getting it. Let's see now. Oh yeah. A lot. Okay, I see a lot of people seem to be pretty excited and they want to go and get yeah, they want to get it. More endo mode is always a good thing. I'm just going to buy the DVD even if there's no bonus features. No, I'm sure the DVD, like, it will have a lot less bonus features than this, but they will include at least some. They will put the Auntie Edna movie onto the bonus feed. They will put it on the DVD version at least. Let's see now. We also got. Hold on. Pi, are you still there?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm actually I'm looking. I'm trying to figure out what the steelbook if there's anything special to it, because it looks like, I don't know, like maybe there's like a little Incredibles hat that's like the washing machine opens up, but no, I think it's just a steelbook.
No, it's literally nah. I checked as well to see if there's actually something, but yeah, this is just a steel book. It's just a bonus little thing that's on Best Buy, and honestly, I would be just happy to get the regular Blu-ray. I don't know about this steelbook in particular. It's just
No.
like it was like come and get this exclusive like washing machine that has the Incredibles 2 logo. Do you want that?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nah. It's just stick with the regular Blu-ray. I mean, it does like even the cover. It does look pretty awesome. So at least I'm sticking with that. All right. So I think with that said, oh hold on. I'm definitely excited. I'll be getting the Blu-ray combo and the 4K combo because I've been collecting 4K movies for a while. Before getting the 4K requirements, where am I?
Uh-oh.
Before getting the 4K requirements, cause it's better to me to get the movies before requirements. Otherwise, it's gonna suffer for me. I don't have 4K movies before the requirements to play them. Okay. So yeah, it looks like people are pretty excited and they want to buy Incredibles 2. So we'll see how that goes there. Now, with all that said, I think we're pretty much all good with Incredibles 2, and now we are going to go and move on to our next story, which, it seems that someone has fully admit that they really did screw up. And, yeah, sadly, this is going to be a story that you're not necessarily going to be a particular fan of this subject, though. But, man, it is still something worth talking about to get into this, because holy crap. And that is actually regarding the Best Popular Film category and how the Academy ultimately decided that they are going to pull out of it. I'm sure you've heard about that little controversy when that was announced, right?
Big nope on that. I stay away from award shows.
Oh, you try to get out of it as much as you can. Like
Oh yeah.
you're that much in terms of that hate on like all is it like on all shows, all award shows,
Look,
or is it like just the Oscars?
I don't like. I mean, it's all award shows. I don't like how much sway these awards have in terms of other things in the film industry, in the television industry, in popular opinion. I don't like how much sway they have, and yet they seem to be arbitrary a lot of the time. I also don't like how self-congratulatory they are. I'm not, I'm not against the idea in general. I just don't really like how most, if not all, award shows are run.
Okay, no, I do get it. I do get it right here. But it does seem that in terms of what happened with the Oscars, last month, if you guys may recall, the Academy has announced a lot of major changes that they are going to do in the hopes that they can boost up the ratings of the Oscars television program. And one of which they have revealed is actually going to be Best Popular Film category, in which they only announce what that is, and that's pretty much it. But now they seem to be pulling back. It was supposed to be revealed for the next Oscars, but they decided that they're going to take it away from that. It's not going to happen, and they're going to further discuss about what to do with it. We actually did get a quote from Dawn Hudson, the CEO of the Academy, stating, and reading from my source here in Variety, that there has been a wide range of reactions to the introduction of a new award, and we recognize the need for further discussion with our members. We have made changes to the Oscars over the years, including this year, and we will continue to evolve while also respecting the incredible legacy of the last 90 years. So far, they're just discussing about what are they going to do with it. But at the same time, they have also revealed the dates regarding what are they going to do about the voting system, when you're going to vote, and all that kind of stuff for the 92nd Oscars. Not the next one, but the one after that, considering that's going to be the one where they're going to start releasing them a little earlier in the beginning of February. So the nominations where you can vote for the nominees, that's going to happen in the beginning of January, and then at the end of January, that's when you can, or at the end of January and the beginning of February, that's when you can go and actually do the legitimate votes and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of the big news, where the Oscars really screwed up so bad with its Best Popular Film category that they have to go and pull it out from everything else. Even though you're not necessarily a fan of it, what do you think of the idea in general of the Oscars putting in a category called Best Popular Film?
Well, see, that sounds exactly like the kind of thing to combat the problems I have with the Oscars, right? Where it's instead of being some, hoity-toity group that based upon how they're paid off, based upon what biases and preferences, whatever this group is, based on that picking, instead of that, let's have a vote. Let's let actual people who watch movies have some opinion here. That sounds like a decent idea. Not that I'm saying that, every Joe Schmo on the street is like a high film critic that should make all decisions or anything, but like it seems like a nice balance at least to have one category that's like that, and now they're pulling it before they do it. So that's great. Merits further study. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, when I first heard about it, like, I was honestly a bit confused because I'm going to say it right here. The biggest honestly, what really is the biggest problem and why this category really got into major controversy is the fact that they didn't explain what it is. Literally, when they announced it, all they said was that, oh, we're adding this new category of Best Popular Film. Okay, what is it about? Like, who can be nominated in this? We'll tell you more about it. Like, they didn't even specify. And it's honestly ridiculous because when, I thought about it, and really, you cannot go more subjective than saying something like Best Popular Film, because it can mean a lot of things when you try to create something called Best Popular Film. And a lot of people are going to make suggestions, and they're going to think about ideas of what it could be. And knowing the internet, what they will do is always expect the worst, and they will go and try to fight it, and they'll have that as enough of an excuse to be angry and combat it. And honestly, I think this really does say a lot. And like the factor where they said that, oh, they need further discussions, that does give me a little bit of a clue that I don't think even the Academy knows what they meant themselves by a category called Best Popular Film. Like, they're not 100% sure about what that would mean, because if they would, then they would have explained what it is in the first place. But no, it's like pretty much just reveal it first and then think about what that would mean later. It's a little bit, honestly,
that's bizarre. That's a weird way to make decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I would guess, and what would be neat would be, here's the category for films that wouldn't have gotten nominated for anything else. Fan favorite or whatever, like movies that aren't high art but are people pleaser movies. Jurassic World is probably nominated for things because I don't know anything, but I don't know. I don't know.
But, yeah, no, you do bring up a very good point, because the grand majority of people talking about Best Popular Film, a lot of them were pretty much saying that the reason why this exists is an excuse to give Black Panther an Oscar. Because because the Academy knows that they would probably be in massive trouble if they don't recognize Black Panther for anything. And let's be honest, Marvel, even though they have a great reputation of making superhero films, they're not really that lucky when it comes to having Oscars and stuff like that. You know when things are bad when even Suicide Squad got an Oscar before anything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, but yeah, honestly, that does seem to be a bit of the reason what could be why, and it does seem like a logical explanation, but that ended up just adding fuel to the fire where people really just got angry. And honestly, for me, I feel like, the thing is, even though it is a pretty subjective idea, a part of me does feel like I can see how this could be a great idea. I could see how Best Popular Film can actually be a great category that could really expand upon what movies can be nominated and stuff like that. It did have the potential to really give that boost for the Oscars that it really needs, not just for the ratings, but also for itself. But because of the fact that they didn't necessarily explain anything, the fact that they didn't try to explain how it works or what is the Academy's definition of Best Popular Film, or what is the definition of being popular, then honestly, of course it would end up getting like so despised and just completely rejected by the public. And I've seen articles like soon afterwards. I remember Variety, like after they created, like after the Oscars announced that, the Variety was just straightforward, and they created an article saying that the Oscars are godforsaken desperate.
I mean, like, yeah, that's the thing, because it does seem like it would be a good idea to invite movies that are more people pleasers, but then you know, you have something this vague, and then it's like, well, how is that prevented from being just overrun with just whatever bias or agenda or whatever the people behind the awards show just want to push? You know what I mean? Like, you could say anything is a popular movie. You could say Teen Titans Go to the Movie is a popular movie with kids. That's not necessarily, I mean, it's not the truest statement, but it's not a false statement either. You know, it's like, well, like, that's, I don't know, that's weird. But like, I don't know, if I was this with the Oscars, I wouldn't just release a nebulous statement like this. I would say, here's the category, here's what we're adding, here's why we're adding it. We hope you enjoy it. Or don't.
It's just more, they just needed more explanations. Like, for some of the other reasons, like, okay, that's understandable. Like, a lot of people get that some of the other reasons why they updated the Oscars, including making it shorter to just stick it with 3 hours and, like, putting them earlier. Okay, that's for rating purposes. That's for the purpose of the televised show for the Oscars. But for this best popular film category, they really made a mistake not explaining much of what it could mean. I mean, it could be for the factor that, oh, probably it's for movies that made more than $1 billion at the box office. Or maybe it's just from, like, the major studios. Like, this is the category exclusive for Disney, Universal, and Warner Brothers, or something like that. But they didn't really specify what it could probably mean, and that's why that whole category in itself just kind of crumbled, because, like, it seems like nobody knows what it means. And honestly, this is just giving us a clue that not even the Academy knows what they meant.
Under what circumstances did they announce this? Was this just like a tweet or something? Like,
no, they did like a little bit of a press release, like just handing it out to like the big film journalists articles, pretty much revealing about some of the changes that they want to do for the Academy in the hopes that they can go and boost up the ratings for the televised cast. They, like, it's just something like that. It's just something that they reveal, okay, we're just going to do these changes and hopefully they'll do better for the TV show, for the live special. So, who knows? They just put it out just like that.
Weird. Very weird.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think they do recognize, like, the Oscars, they definitely recognize that they have made a mistake right there. So, and it's very rare. This, honestly, I think this is the first time ever in Oscars history where they revealed a brand new category and they were like, okay, maybe that's a bad idea. Let's just put it back a little bit and we'll discuss it further.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Hey, you didn't think we would do something like that, stupid.
There were no popular movies this year. We don't need that category. Oh goodness.
God, yeah.
No, you know what? They should just have a superhero movie category. How funny would that be? They just superhero movies. There you go. You know, you can find enough of them to throw in nomination wise.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, it doesn't seem that far-fetched. Like, I mean, like, you do have a category for, like, best animated feature, and I mean, why not just do one for best superhero movies for the same reason why you made best animated feature?
They could call it something. They could be like fancy and just be like, you know, best blending of storytelling with enhanced abilities, or like something like that.
Best movies based on an eclectic comic book, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, just like, why don't you just be straightforward and just do best superhero movie, you know, like, just go out and actually make that. We know the reason why you want to make it. Like, you know, you want to go and nominate Infinity War and Black Panther and stuff like that. Just freaking do it. You know, I'm sure there might not be some people who would object to that. So, come on, like, just, you know, be honest. Try to be more straightforward and explain more.
That's the thing. Here's the thing that gets me about these award shows is that it is a lot of ego and a lot of aren't we great and aren't we doing these great things for the industry. But then at the same time, they still need the viewership. Like they still care about how many people are watching, and so it's like this balance of how can we feel like we're better than everyone else, but we also still kind of need everyone else. So I don't know. That's kind of what it looks like here. Of like, well, we'll give the people what they want. No, those people don't know what they want. Let's pull that back. Like, I don't know. I mean, this could just all be a weird theorizing. I don't know too closely, but I do know that, like, God, just award season in general, just from having a professor in college who was like a part of that while he was trying to teach us at the same time. Oh God, it's a monster.
Yeah, and you know the saddest thing about all this is that, like, with the changes that they have done, it's, you know, it really is a clear sign that, like, the Academy is starting to make decision for the views. And I mean, as YouTubers, you know that feeling when people are just doing that for the views.
Is Logan Paul gonna be in the next?
Yeah, this time we're gonna bring in A-list celebrities, bring them to the Suicide Forest, and just laugh at dead people.
Goodness.
Oh God. No. I mean, like, the Academy is already doing stupid crap. Like, I don't know if you've heard, or you probably know, like, what happened last time at the Academy. There was at one point where Jimmy Kimmel had to stop everything, select a few celebrities that are among, like, the audience, like some Oscar winners and stuff like that, and they would bring in people like Guillermo del Toro and Gal Gadot. They would bring them to the theater next door, and like the audience was just like watching A Wrinkle in Time, just having a private screening of that. And then suddenly all the celebrities are coming in. Hey, we're celebrities. We want to thank you, the audience. So we're going to throw snacks at you. And like you see all these celebrities just throwing in hot dogs, and they're throwing candy at the audience while they're freaking out. It's like, oh my God, it's Wonder Woman. Ah!
I did not hear about that. That is interesting. I don't know if it was the Oscars, but I did read something like a year ago, some award show where, I don't know, someone got really self-righteous about like how great they were doing for just for women in the industry and whatever. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, good job patting yourself on the back for slightly correcting a huge problem in your industry.
No, that's the Oscars. Yeah. That's the Oscars. Yeah. I do recall because there was a moment where they do highlight the #MeToo movement.
And I mean, I'm not anything against any of that, but it's just like patting yourself on the back for like doing a slightly better job this year with not being as, you know, it's like, what are you doing? Like, congratulations. I only killed about 9 people this year. Yeah.
This year, I did not call Harvey Weinstein a god. Yay.
Oh, goodness. I mean, it's good to, of course, it's good to enforce the positive changes that are being made. But at the same time, it just don't be smug about it. There's no need to be smug.
Give me a cookie. I did a good. Yes, but I would like to know now, into the chat wall, what do you guys think about this whole mess of the best popular film category and how they had to take it out? And how do you feel about the current stance of the Oscars? Because honestly, it really has been quite crazy. Are you more on Pie Guy's side, where you're just you just despise the awards and you want to walk away, or do you feel like maybe there could be ways that the Academy could improve on? There seems to be an interesting one. On the streams, Pie Guy hosts or links, and he laughs at horrific things like the Suicide Forest incident. I get shocked and reminded is still human like us all. Not that I don't know that, but it still gets me somehow.
I have a sense of humor, you know. And
yeah, same here. I mean, for God's sakes, I absolutely adore watching YouTube poop, so what can I say? Let's see.
Am I reading this right here that it says shortening the length of the telecast to 3 hours?
Yeah, that's
what shortening it to 3 hours?
Yes. Yeah, because usually it would be like 4 hours or 5 even. And what they're going to do is that they're going to put it 3 hours maximum. And the way that they're doing it, it is controversial, where there are some categories, they're not going to broadcast it live, but they will present it before the commercials. And it's just going to be for like some of the smaller ones, like Best Documentary or Best Live Action Short or Best Makeup.
They're gonna take a note from the Kids' Choice Awards on that.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, God, no. The Oscars are turning into the Kids' Choice Awards.
Because that's what they did. They'd be like, just before a commercial or just after a commercial, they'd be like, and the winner of the best cartoon is SpongeBob. All right, back to the action. It's like, best cartoon, that should be like a huge award for you guys. Like, what? I don't.
Well,
But,
I mean, then again, how many times did SpongeBob win for best animated show at the Kids Choice Awards?
Every year since 2004, except for the year that Avatar won. There's one year, I think 2008, where Avatar won.
Yeah, okay. Well, Avatar, yeah, of course. I mean, like,
There was a
an
big
amazing
push
show.
for that. Yeah, and we had to. I was a part of that, of like just continuously voting, because like someone hit the top of the sponge once. I could be wrong, but he's won at least like the majority of them in the past decade and a half.
Oh yeah, no, that I can understand. I could actually see SpongeBob like at the Nickelodeon conference. All right, Aang, you can have one award, but the rest is going to be mine. No, Timmy, you're not getting any. This is all mine. I need it for my collection.
That's a pretty good SpongeBob impression.
Oh well, thank you.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So, Avengers: Infinity War and Black Panther need to be nominated for Best Picture. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I can see. Yeah, I know that there is a major push for people wanting Black Panther for Best Picture. I mean, that's kind of the way that's how people would perceive Best Popular Film, is that instead of putting Black Panther in Best Picture, let's put it in Best Popular Film. All right, but anyways, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And now, after all this, we can finally go right up your alley, Pie Guy. Now we're going to talk about an animated series. So sorry that, I had to fill you in with all that stuff that you're not necessarily interested in.
No, it's fun.
All right, good. But, anyways, let's go ahead and discuss about an animated TV show right now, which has just been announced, and hopefully these guys can probably be back into the limelight, and we are going to be talking about the brand new Care Bears show. Yes, Boomerang has officially announced that there's going to be a brand new animated series based on the Care Bears called Care Bears Unlock the Magic. There is also a quote here coming from the president of the company that is making this Care Bear series called Cloudco Entertainment, the president Sean Gordman, where he said, "We swung for the fences to give the Bears the best and most compelling storytelling, animation, and broadcaster home. I am super proud of the result and thank our own internal team as well as our production partners for their immeasurable hard work and support." Now, the big thing with this series is that this is going to be directly in the Boomerang app. It's going to be in the Boomerang streaming service where they're going to present that all there. And then months later, they will put it on the Boomerang channel on television.
Select episodes, it says. And the Boomerang app is actually something I do know a pretty fair bit about. I made 2 videos, and I currently am doing the free trial. So first of all, we can just both agree, childhood ruined, right? Childhood ruined.
Well, it depends. No. I'm not into Care Bears myself.
That's a joke. No, here's the thing. Here's the thing that's, for me anyway, that sets Care Bears apart from like any of the other stuff. Is like Care Bears, like My Little Pony before it. It's like it was always intended for very, very, very young kids. There was, as far as I understand, there's never anything to Care Bears. It's not the kind of series that can be hurt or helped by a reboot. I think it's just kind of like, it's a series for very young kids, and if they can take that and mold that into something that is more like Friendship is Magic, that has a lot wider appeal, and that does have genuinely good storytelling in there, and effort put in, that's great. Like, I'm not against this at all. And for the pictures shown, I actually really like that art style. I think it looks pretty cute.
Yeah, honestly, that is the one criticism I just want to get out of the way about this news that they did reveal. It's just, honestly, regarding the title itself, and all I can think of myself is just, how desperate are you to become My Little Pony? Because really, it's like, unlock the magic. I mean, it's not far off from Friendship is Magic. And I mean, this is not the first time either that the Care Bears is trying to reboot itself and really try to really go after that My Little Pony audience. There was before on Netflix this 3D animated series called Care Bears and Cousins, but it only ran for 2 seasons, and it really was a show that just came and went. But I just want to also add, regarding this brand new series itself, that yes, it is going back to 2D animation, and especially with the way that it is going with an anime style, and they are going to introduce some new components, including a never-before-seen silver lining world. And also it says here, again going to my source and variety, the show will also introduce a new character, Dibble, who becomes the Care Bear's pet. The round pink character will not be able to speak. Instead, it will communicate using limited words, coos, and sounds. It will also travel using its own personal cloud. No premiere date has been set. And it's honestly interesting looking into the art style of Care Bears because, or in this Care Bears in particular, because you could tell they really are going into anime right here. Don't you think?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, like the little blush lines, the Ash Ketchum lightning bolts on the cheeks. Like,
Oh yeah, good eye. Like mostly the one of the biggest giveaways is actually with the pink bear in the center trying to do that little Sailor Moon pose. Like that was a big clue for me.
I know this gets thrown around a lot, and I actually don't believe this about like the reboots and stuff. But this one in particular, it looks a little Steven Universe-y to me in like color choice. Not that it's strictly that, but just I can kind of see. But yeah, no, I like that. That looks cool to me. And first of all, the Unlock the Magic title, yeah, that's like very Friendship is Magic-y. But what made me think of, and the Boomerang app doesn't have this, but Cartoon Network's app does. When you put in your cable provider information, like they ask you to unlock the episode. They have unlocked episodes that are free for everyone, and then it's like a locked behind put in your cable information. And so it's like Care Bears unlock the magic by subscribing to Boomerang. Like,
or no, if they want to be more nefarious, it's just like Care Bears unlock the magic by subscribing to AT&T.
Oh goodness. Care Bear microtransaction the magic, 99 cents an episode. But yeah, no, like if you were expecting, like I don't think that Care Bears is a franchise, honestly, that needs a reboot, or like, I'm not like, oh man, that Care Bears, there's something special about that show. Let's bring it back. But I mean, it's like, it's Care Bears. It's one of those shows that's had a ton of different incarnations, and it is for very, very young children. And it always has been just like, here, let's just present a message, hopefully do something decent animation wise, and that's it. And like, I don't have any problem with that kind of reboot personally.
Yeah, honestly, like with your comment on the Steven Universe thing, like honestly, it's not necessarily like this show in particular's fault. It's not that they're trying to copy it. I think more it's because of the fact that it is the Care Bears, and when you think of the Care Bears, it has a very vibrant color palette.
Right.
It has a very strong color palette where you see like different art styles, and like it is interesting the way that they are again going into a little bit the anime route, and you see in the backgrounds they are going a little bit more detailed, which it does look nice. And that's one thing that I will say about this Care Bears reboot that we see here is that it does look nice, even though it is kind of like following the trend a little bit of some of the more modern animated series where it is an American animated series trying to be a little more into anime, kind of like with DreamWorks Voltron or Korra, or even some of the ones that are coming up like what are they, like, like She-Ra or High Guardian Spice, for example, where it is kind of like going mock anime in a sense. But this one, I could see this work a little bit. Like, maybe we would need a trailer to see how they are going to move if it is actually that route of, like, this mock anime. But,
right.
In here, it, like, at least in terms of the picture itself, it does look promising, and it does remain into, it does say Care Bears. Like, that's one great thing about it, is that, like, you look at this, and you could tell that it does have the feel and the spirit of the classic Care Bears.
Right. Well, here's something important to remember when myself or anyone else talks about like all of these reboots. The thing is, for me, is that a big part is the trend of rebooting action shows or action comedies into chibi comedy, almost pure comedy shows. And that's not happening here because it looks entirely true. And I mean, just from the image at least, Care Bears was not an action show. They're not turning an action show into something that it's not. It looks like they're still trying to be true to what Care Bears is, but maybe like actually putting some effort into it this time.
I
don't know
disagree. The
show.
Care Bear stare is freaking epic as all hell.
Oh
You
my
cannot
goodness.
get more action packed than freaking Care Bear stares.
And also like to Steven Universe, and I don't think this is copying, but I get the vibe because it looks like Beach City. That looks like a lighthouse on top of a hill. It looks like they're in a beach town. I think they're in the clouds. I don't think that's what's happening, but it kind of looks to me like they're in Beach City a little bit. But no, I think the most interesting thing about this, and the thing that I do have to criticize, is the Boomerang streaming service. The Boomerang streaming service has had a lot of issues in terms of finding what it wants to do. I recently subscribed to it this week because we watched a Camp Lazlo episode for my podcast, and they have Camp Lazlo on there. They have select episodes from 3, 4 of the 6 seasons. Not all of the episodes in each season. Not like, the first X amount of episodes. No, they just have random assortment of episodes. This isn't going to sell. I don't think this is going to sell anyone on the Boomerang streaming service, is the thing. If this is Boomerang's original content for their streaming service, then it tells me that they are aiming for the youngest, which I don't think will care about like Flintstones. Personally, like, I don't know. The Boomerang app has a very big case of just like doesn't know what it wants to do with itself. And I've always been like, hey, throw those nostalgic like late 90s, early 2000s Cartoon Network shows on there. You'll get a bunch of nostalgic people. You'll get a younger audience. You'll get maybe even parents who watched it back. Like that's a thing you can do with it and have all the classic cartoons. But no, they instead want to do this thing where it's, the Flintstones, Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, great stuff, but stuff that's been shown and aired and is on DVD and everywhere else. They want to do that. They want to do like things like the Wacky Races reboot that it's like, what is this? There's a Dorothy show. It's Wizard of Oz, but it's Dorothy. And it's like, who watches this? And they have that. They have like Camp Lazlo, Jim Partner, and Juniper Lee and Courage are the only Cartoon Network originals on there. Duck Dodgers 2 was recently added, which is sweet. But like they didn't want to go that avenue with it. They don't have current shows on it. Like, kids that want to watch Teen Titans Go aren't going here. So I don't know what Boomerang is doing. This is a kind of confusing thing for me, unless they are just literally trying to go for the youngest of the young, in which case I don't think they're going to care about that wide backlog of, Hanna-Barbera cartoons, aside from Scooby-Doo.
Not gonna care. No, but no, I do get what you mean, and I'll just say in my experience, for me, I don't have the Boomerang app, and I don't think I can get it considering that I am Canadian. So you definitely have a lot more knowledge on that than I do, and on top of that, but I do remember in the past when I would watch Boomerang, and I remember a time when Boomerang was supposed to be this nostalgic. This nostalgic channel, the place where they would put in shows that don't necessarily fit on Cartoon Network, but they can now put it in there, where they would put in like the classic Hanna-Barbera stuff and all the old Cartoon Network shows like Ed, Edd and Eddy, Dexter's Lab, and all those things. They would just throw it onto Boomerang, and I guess they want to go into a new direction where they want to go and present some new, like try to be kind of like the second Cartoon Network 2.0 in a sense, like Cartoon Network second I think that's the best way to describe it. Like, as YouTubers, it's the best way to describe it, is that Cartoon Network wants to turn Boomerang into Cartoon Network's second channel.
Unfortunately, what happened with the Boomerang Network, and it's kind of the case for the app as well, is that it, instead of being like Cartoon Network 2 for all the shows that we aren't showing on our main network, it is now the dumping grounds, where you do still have some classic shows, but only like the most mainstream, been seen a million times, Flintstones, Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo, like that stuff. They don't have any of the weird, obscure, fun stuff that's like neat to check out once and then you never want to watch another episode of Dennis the Menace or whatever again. They have that. Then they have like Dorothy and the Garfield show and like other things that are like kind of sort of quasi reboots made in other countries. Sorry. I think Garfield's made in Canada. But like, import shows, they have that. And then they also do still air like Teen Titans Go and stuff. Like they don't know what they want. And for a streaming service, if anything I think is true, it's that a streaming service cannot get by on legacy content unless they have a huge library and it's cheap, cheap, cheap. I think most streaming services, they're going to need some level of original content. And if this is what Boomerang has to offer, I just don't think that many people are going to see it.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. And by the way, someone corrected you by saying that Garfield show was actually made in France. So don't blame that on me.
I'm sorry.
That's all
a lot
good.
of
It's
people
all
like
good.
the Garfield show, but
No,
yeah, no, it's
go on.
like it's weird because you would think that Boomerang, if they wanted to, like, I don't know, because it's like they can't just show the classics over and over again. Like, dude, I love Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes is great, but it's like I grew up watching that like an hour a day every day on Cartoon Network, and like I'm good, man. I don't need to see that again. Like, if I ever want it, I'll get it on DVD and watch it when I feel like it, not on the service I'm continuously paying for. But like you'd think maybe they'd want to go the route of like just doing reboots, but the reboots they get are weird. Like the Wacky Races one. Like, has anyone ever seen that show? You know what I'm talking?
Used to
You probably don't
love
even.
that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I used to love the classic Wacky Races by Hanna-Barbera, but nowadays it's just like I don't know if I want to touch that.
You know, that style I don't know works in like a current day, and I don't know if it's I don't know what the deal is with it, but it's I like I like the Boomerang app when it's adding obscure things like Tasmania, Duck Dodgers, Courage is nice, although Courage is one of those that gets more focus from Cartoon Network, of those that era of cartoons. Like that's cool, and it's good to have the legacy content on there. Like there's no problem in having Flintstones, Jetsons, Scooby Doo. I mean, Scooby Doo's always popular with that, with all demographics. But there's no problem with that. But it's got to have more than just that. And adding these reboots of like young kids shows or these imports and stuff, it's just not enough of a hook that's really gonna do it. Unless this becomes Friendship is Magic, but it won't, because if its main audience is just from the app and like a few people that see it on Boomerang, which is not a very popular channel, like how's this gonna catch on in the same way that My Little Pony did?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I could see how, like, and it's weird because I can see how with Boomerang they can really capitalize on just being like this legacy collection because, like, when you think about, like, with Turner and Warner Brothers and the people who own Cartoon Network, like, they do have a massively huge collection under their disposal. Like, they own they own some of the MGM cartoons, they own all the Looney Tunes, they own all the Hanna-Barbera shows. Like, they can really profit off of that. But with the new content that they're making is that I don't know if they really know I don't think they really have a sense of direction of what they want to do with the new stuff to add in. Like, Boomerang is often known for, like, Boomerang is the legacy channel. It's technically Cartoon Network's legacy, but nowadays it just turns into Cartoon Network's Green Mile. Is that when you see there's a show that's been added onto Boomerang, you know it's going to die soon. Like, it had a good run on Cartoon Network, and then suddenly you see it appear in Boomerang. That's just a signal that it's gonna die.
Yep, except for the time. I mean, in general, yes. Aside for the time when they'll throw Teen Titans Go on there just because they're desperate.
hey, it's always a ratings booster. Just put in Teen Titans Go, and then suddenly, boop.
Yep. But yeah, no, this is, I mean, it's interesting news. And like I said, I'm not down on the idea of the show being rebooted at all. And if anything, it looks cute. I probably won't check it out. But yeah, it's just a little confusing that if this is the direction they're going, I don't know. Boomerang, I think maybe my guess would be that Boomerang is a holdover and they're going to do something like Nick Splat did with Verve, where that's a part of a bigger streaming service where you get a lot more things. Because Boomerang, it's like if they added that as a portion of like WB's streaming service, like let's just say this is a section of WB's streaming service, and WB has other stuff on there from the CW and from just wherever. I think that could work pretty well if it's an add-on for that or just a part of a bigger package. But as it is, even for a pretty low asking price, which is what it is, it's like I think it's like $7-8. I still think it's just not worth it with the current library at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of ironic considering that we were talking about reboots and all that stuff, and yet, ironically, the one that needs to reboot the most is actually Boomerang itself, in a way.
Yep. It's all coming back to you.
Yes. But with all that said and done, let's go ahead and go into the chat wall right over here. And I would like to know, what do you guys think about this brand new Care Bear series? Are you guys interested in checking this one out? Are you guys unsure about it? Do you have the Boomerang app, or are you not interested in the Boomerang app in the first place? I would like to know what you think. Let's see. I swear, if they messed up Boomerang really badly, and this was Hanna-Barbera channel, I wish. Oh, I want the old channels back. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Like just turn the Boomerang streaming service into a Hanna-Barbera streaming service. That could be an idea. Let's see. I think if the show does very well on the Boomerang streaming service, I think it could get reruns or even premieres on Cartoon Network. That would be the best case scenario for.
That's true.
That would be the best case for Care Bears. Like, if it really did get popular enough, or it really got that like high praise. Let's see. Do we have anything else? To be honest, the art style for this Care Bears is way better than the upcoming Thundercats Roar. Okay. The main animations I've seen was anything on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, or whatever the hell's up in the early 2000s Flash animation, and some of them are not interested. So it looks like a mixed reaction, at least for this Care Bear series. So we don't know when this is going to be coming out, but who knows what's going to happen with this Care Bear series. Maybe it'll turn out great. Maybe it's just another failed series, just like Care Bears and Cousins, but I don't know.
Care Bears and Cousins. That's not a great name.
Well, I mean, that's why it only ran for 2 seasons. Alright, so with all that said and done, though, it is now time that we shall go and move on to the grand finale. And this one is actually going to be a bonus miscellaneous, where we are going to be looking not into an animated project, but probably one of the more interesting news that we got this week in terms of
This
movies.
is a great story. I'm so glad you showed me this, because this is a great story. I had no idea any of this was happening, and
Oh yeah, no, this is something that nobody really knew happened until this actually brought out. And the more you dig deep dig deep into it, the more crazy it actually sounds. And what I'm talking, of course, is actually about the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. Believe it or not, the ruby slippers have been stolen for 13 years, and only this week they actually brought it back. Apparently what happened specifically is the fact that in 2005, there were a bunch of people who actually stole the ruby slippers that had been worn by Judy Garland in the movie The Wizard of Oz from the Judy Garland Museum in Missouri. Now, the reason why they stole it, of course, is for the common reason why people would steal art and stuff like that. They wanted money for it. And, like, the guys were asking, like, they want to have $1 million, but then, like, it never happened. Like, afterwards, we didn't get any news from it. It disappeared for 13 years, and then suddenly the FBI found it. A special agent in charge of the Minneapolis division of the FBI, Jill Sandborn, stated here in my source here, once again from Variety, "At the heart of nearly every art crime, we see greed woven into the fabric of the scheme. Greed to take it, and greed to profit from its return. Dorothy's slippers are a treasure piece of Americana, and we are hoping members of the public can help us better fill in the details that will finish the script of this mystery so we can hold accountable all those who were behind the scheme." Now, it is very interesting to note that these are not the only ruby slippers in existence. Not even the only ruby slippers that have been created for the movie that Judy Garland had to wear. There are 2 of them right now that we know that are going to be in museums, or that are in museums right now. One of them is in the Smithsonian, and there's another one that apparently is a joint ownership by Leonardo DiCaprio and Steven Spielberg that will be on display at next year's Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. And also, one more interesting fact I would like to add, that there was another one that was actually on display at Walt Disney World. It was on display for a while throughout the 90s in the Great Movie Ride, but then a private owner decided to go and buy it, so now it's in a private collection. But that's pretty much the big news that we have here, is that for 13 years, the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz have been freaking missing, and it took the FBI to go and find it. Like, holy crap. Man, Pie Guy, what do you think about all this?
That is quite a story. I did you mention that they're like not matching shoes?
They're not, wait, they're not
Okay.
matching?
Yeah, where does it say this? Yeah, there's a wrinkle to this story where
13 years after the pair of sparkly shoes were stolen? No.
or did I miss this? Was it? Oh, sorry, it's in the comments. So I guess I should probably have verified this. But according to one of the comments, one of the most interesting details to note is that the pair that was stolen is not a match set. Neither is the pair in the Smithsonian. When the shoes were paired off and distributed, sold by Kent Warner in the 1970 MGM auction, the Smithsonian pair, the one in the actual auction, and Michael Shaw's pair were mixed. So Michael's left shoe goes with the Smithsonian's right shoe and vice versa.
Oh, wow. That is actually pretty interesting to know. So, like, we got random pairs. So, wow, these are, like, random pairs of shoes. Holy crap. Well, random pairs of ruby slippers, but still, like, that is honestly an interesting fact if it's actually true. But
you got to think about this: that there were criminals out there that were sitting around in some like dark room that were like, "Hey, I got a job for you, Bill. We got a big hit for us. We're gonna make millions on it. Oh yeah, what's the plan, boss? We're gonna steal the ruby slippers." Like the ruby slippers? What ruby slippers? The ruby slippers that Dorothy wore. It's like, okay, boss. Whatever you say.
well, I mean, considering that it is in Minnesota, that is probably the most valuable thing in that state. Like, oh my god. Or you know what would be the most hilarious thing is that technically it's not stolen. It's just it's the Wicked Witch of the North coming back to life and taking them back.
Someone just wanted to go home. That's all. I mean, it's not no crime was committed.
Yeah, I mean, technically the whole irony is that, well, Dorothy did steal slippers from a witch that her house completely crushed. So, I mean, it could be just revenge from Dorothy.
So, who's going to make this into a movie?
That is a very good question. Like, we could legitimate... Well, I mean, like, we need a little more information regarding, like, who stole it and stuff like that, because the thing is that the criminals are still at large. We still don't necessarily know who it is. So far, the FBI, they just found the ruby slippers, and now they're on the hunt to know who actually committed the crime, who actually went and actually stole the ruby slippers.
But who's, like, how are they even gonna sell? Like, I don't understand the seedy underbelly of this world, but just like, how does one sell the ruby slip? What criminal is interested? I mean, I know it's like they're worth a lot of money. I get that, but it's just like that's a very easily traceable thing. It seems like it's not like some diamond, you know. I don't know. There's got to be a trail if they tried to sell them, or maybe they're just people who really wanted ruby slippers.
Well, I think it's more of an art theft kind of thing, and with art theft, you got to think of it in the similar way of kidnapping, because the only thing that you can do with like stealing art is just you want to try to sell it back for a big price.
Ransom it.
So yeah, they want to try to make sure that they tell people, give us the money, and we'll give you back the ruby slippers. You know, and again, it's kind of like the same thing with kidnapping. I mean, what are they gonna do with the ruby slippers? Are they gonna wear it on their own and just brag about, hey, check it out, I'm wearing Dorothy slippers?
Well, they'll probably be limping around because they're not identical. The one's calling a slightly smaller heel or something. Can you imagine you steal the ruby slippers and you're like, wait a minute, these aren't matching. Like,
find someone who's walking crookedly with red shoes. There's your perpetrator. Yeah. No, but you know what's honestly very interesting about this is really the fact that now that the ruby slippers have been rediscovered and it's been like this is an added history into it, I think those ruby slippers in particular, like, they are a lot more valuable than they used to be, because with art theft and then they would bring it back, it really does jack up the price. And hopefully with the Judy Garland Museum, like, they will make it a bigger deal by putting in a lot more security into this, because that's what art theft does. Whenever an item gets returned back, then they're going to make it a much bigger deal, because I'm going to give you a little bit of some art history. Pie Guy, let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about why is it the Mona Lisa is currently the most popular painting of all time.
Oh God. I took art history 1 and 2, and you know what? I think I slept through most of it. So tell me.
Oh god. Okay. Well, actually the funny thing is that it's because in the early 1900s it actually was stolen, because for the longest time, for many centuries, people just treat it like any other painting. They saw this as a Leonardo da Vinci painting, no different than any other Leonardo da Vinci painting. So at the Louvre, like, they would just place it there just with the other paintings. But then there's this one guy who decided to go and steal it. And by the way, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Don't worry, you can do that. There's this one guy, he actually worked at the Louvre, and he actually took the painting, and he literally walked out. And the reason why he stole that painting in particular is because it's not because of like the art theft purposes, like he wanted money. It's because he was a patriot. He was an Italian patriot that he wanted to go and take the Mona Lisa, because he thinks that a Leonardo da Vinci painting, it belongs in Italy. Leonardo da Vinci's Italian, so his painting belongs in Italy. And that's why he went and stole it. And from there, the Louvre decided to take it back, and they jacked up the security onto it, which gathered a lot more attention from people. And that is why right now, Mona Lisa is the most famous painting of all time.
Huh. I mean, that makes sense. Art is only worth whatever we put our perceived value on it. So if it's stolen and then in high demand because of that, then when it gets back, it's still going to probably be in that high demand.
Yeah, exactly. It's still, yeah, it would be in that high demand, but also because they would really put up a lot of security. Like, you would see that the Mona Lisa would be behind like several bulletproof glasses, and you'll see that it is getting much more special treatment than the others, which is going to bring in a lot of curiosity from people going, it's like, hey, what's going on? What makes this one so special? Oh, that's interesting. And even nowadays, when you would go to the Louvre in Paris, like, there are still like tons of people that would crowd all around just to check out the Mona Lisa. And the funny thing with the Mona Lisa, it is a pretty small painting, or at least, like, it's pretty small, and it just, like, it's the only painting behind this one wall, and, like, even if you want to take a picture at it, like, you gotta get a good zoom.
I figured out how this is going to be made into a movie.
Oh, really?
You ready? All right. 3 words.
Okay.
National Treasure 3.
Oh my god.
Get Nick Cage back. All right, but this time they gotta steal the ruby slippers for whatever contrived reason. And then, there's like there's a note.
Oh, like a hidden movie. Oh my god, like a movie edition of the National Treasure. Like, just steal some of the most priceless artifacts of like movie memorabilia and like steal ruby slippers. Oh my god. Or that would actually be amazing if they would go into an animation segment and they would actually take production cells, like, just look into like there's a hidden message behind the Snow White cell. It says here, we gotta go find that. Oh my god. That would honestly be an interesting plot right there. But yeah, of course, like, there would have to be a big thing regarding stealing the ruby slippers like they did with the Declaration of Independence. I'm surprised they didn't even make a National Treasure movie. I like those films, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know how the sequel is, but the original, it holds up as like a dumb action flick, like, and it's funny.
The sequel is the same thing, by the way. It's like another dumb action flick. It's mostly going into the same route, but like, you got, new treasures to uncover, and like. And also you get a lot of goofier Nicolas Cage performances as well.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, like, National Treasure, not that it was made to be an incredibly serious film, but it took itself more seriously and therefore was more funny when Nicolas Cage was being Nicolas Cage, and like the memes of like, we gotta steal the Declaration of Independence. Oh, yeah. Like, whereas the second one was a little more self-aware and therefore less funny because they intentionally goofed up. But I still remember enjoying Book of Secrets, which was the subtitle.
Oh, yeah. Good point. I guess it's just like, just let Nicolas Cage be Nicolas Cage and the comedy would go and write itself.
Yep. Always be caging.
Yep. Or like, worst case scenario, like, just make National Treasure 3, but give it the tone of Mandy. Have you heard about that?
No.
Mandy, okay, I think that's the title of it, but it's a horror film where Nicolas Cage is going to be at his wildest. That's how people are pretty much describing it. Like, you know
Okay.
how, like, the ways that Nicolas Cage can be crazy and stuff like that? Well, he's going to let it all out in a horror film. And apparently it's going to be gory and all that kind of stuff.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's going to be like what you think. Like, holy crap. But yeah, like, with this story right over here, like, it's honestly a crazy one to just highlight. The fact that, oh, like, how is it under anybody's like, how is it under nobody's radar, the fact that the ruby, like, just the idea that the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz, one of the most iconic piece of movie memorabilia, has been missing for 13 years.
Yeah.
Like a child would already be born and hit puberty by the time the ruby slippers just came back.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
that's something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just something you never expect, and I think it's gonna be a pretty big deal right now. It's gonna be a pretty big attraction going on at that Judy Garland Museum to see those ruby slippers once again. So if you're in, so yeah, I guess I'll have to make it a little bit of a commercial that if you are in the Grand Rapids, Minnesota, is it Minnesota? Yeah, in the Grand Rapids, Minnesota area, then head on down to the Judy Garland Museum and go and check out the legendary ruby slippers that have been worn by Judy Garland herself in The Wizard of Oz, and might not be the same one. Like, she might not have worn both at the same time, but they have also been missing for 13 years.
Don't steal them.
Yeah, moral of the story, don't steal shoes, please. Especially if they're some of the most iconic shoes in American history.
What do you think they smell like? Do you think they smell bad? I mean, they probably weren't worn that many times, but then again, they're also like 60-year-old shoes.
Well, I mean, like, nobody has worn them since 60 years. But
Well, no,
I don't have a foot fetish, so don't ask me. That's not something that I'm wondering.
Well, I was just wondering for comedic reasons, but
Oh my
you don't
god,
know.
I just realized. What if that's actually the reason why the
Oh,
thief
God.
stole the slippers? It's for foot fetish purposes. Oh my god. It sounds nuts, but it could be it.
All right, well, thanks for having me on the podcast. No, but you said they haven't been worn in that many years. You don't know that. They were stolen. They could have been worn hundreds of times now.
Oh, good god.
You imagine the FBI retrieves them and they just like reek like.
Oh god. Dude, you gotta Febreze that thing before you put it in a museum.
Oh goodness.
They haven't been worn in Kansas anymore, that's for sure. Oh boy. Now, I would like to go into the chat wall right over here, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you think about this crazy story about the ruby slippers getting stolen? Does that intrigue you to go and check out the slippers yourself? Are you happy to see that the ruby slippers have returned? I would like to know, what do you guys think about this story right over here? Someone has pointed out that it could be a combination of two things: foot and old lady fetish. Oh, good god. But I think Judy Garland is dead, though. Let's see. Another one is, this was pretty hilarious. Let's see. Do we have any other ones? Maybe Dan Schreider stole them. I don't know, Dan Schreider. Stealing Iron Man's suit, but found a ruby slippers for more than 10 years. Could be funny. All right. Do we have any other comments? Yeah, some people say that it's insane. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Apparently people love this little moment. Like, they're just laughing out loud. And some people do think that this story is just weird in general. But, I mean, these are the stories that I live for this godforsaken podcast. Cartoons or not. I mean, crazy stories like this, I mean, they're worth mentioning and just worth talking about. Oh, boy. So, yeah. I think overall, that's going to be pretty much it with our episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So, Pie Guy, let me just say thank you so much for coming. I mean, it really was a blast for this episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was incredibly unexpected, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun as well. And for those of you who are interested in checking out Pie Guy Rules, are there any other places that you can point out to know, like, where can you go if people want to look for you on social media or on YouTube or whatever?
Yep. So I mean, just my main YouTube channel, Pie Guy Rules. Twitter, also Pie Guy Rules. I recently launched a Patreon, but if you don't follow me already, don't just go, check out my stuff first. But recently I've been doing my own podcast with my buddy Monsters Review, and we call it the Recast, and it's been a lot of fun. We've been doing it weekly on Sundays, so if you're new to the channel, check that out. So yeah, but yeah, thanks for having me on, dude.
No problem. This is definitely great, and I would like to say to you guys, thank you so much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, see you later, dudes.
Pie Guy Rules out.